I was doing a show and Keith was performing as well. And my parents were there and my mother, I lost track of her for 2 seconds. And I look over and she's giving Keith a hug right before he goes on stage. And I'm like, Mom!
Hey friends, it's your girl Emily Curl back in my virtual studio, and today we're hanging out with country music singer and songwriter. We've got Ingrid Andress here with us. Ingrid, it's so good to see you again.
Oh, hello. It is good to be seen. Yes.
With your glowing orchid and your plants in the background. I already told you I love this setup.
Yeah, I'm terrible at decorating, so I just use nature to cover up the fact that I have no taste.
Honestly, same. My plants are ready to go. So this month, obviously, we're celebrating Women's History Month. And of course, we have so many amazing women in music. To dive right in, what does it mean for you to be a woman representing not only the music industry, but country music in particular?
To be honest, I feel like women's stories are such a huge part of the world. And so country music to me and being a woman in country music is really exciting because it gives an opportunity to share the other side of the story, whereas men have a very different perspective than we do. And I think you need both equally to balance them, each other out. So to me, being a woman in country is crucial because there are many stories to be told.
And you've had such a successful year, not only this past year, but I feel like you've just been on the rise since you came on the scene. How do you define the word success? Like, what does that mean for you? And has that definition changed as you've gotten older?
I think success looks different for everybody. Since I am, a songwriter first and foremost, to me, success is writing a song that somebody hears themselves in and they can relate to it and, help them get through whatever that time is. And that to me is really the only reason why I'm doing any of this, is to relate to people. So after that, I'm kind of like, whoop, I did my job. So everyone's like, what are your goals for the next few years? I'm like, I think I'm going to retire, honestly.
You're like, I'm good.
And all the things that I like to do.
Yeah. And, being a songwriter and sharing so many parts of your life, obviously, I feel like you have to be in a good place with yourself and you have to be grounded. What is something for you that maybe you do physically, mentally, emotionally every day that you feel like helps aid in your creative process or helps just keep you grounded?
I definitely write, not songs. I write, journal almost every day just to get thoughts out. Because it's crazy. I'm actually not great at articulating how I feel unless I'm writing about it. So for my own mental health, I need to write it out. Otherwise, it'll just stay stuck in my brain forever. And that's not great because then I get in my head and it's bad news for everybody. I love being outside and going on hikes. I think nature is a really grounding thing for me, being from Colorado. And so anytime I can be outside in the sun doing some kind of activity, it reminds me of okay, being human is awesome. Look at all these.
Yeah, and the world is big. Yeah, I do that too, for sure. The world is
massive. Yeah. So just whenever I get a chance to remind myself of that, it's usually a good thing for me.
Does your journaling ever spark song ideas? I know you said you're not writing it for that, but does that ever happen to the world's crossover?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I'm I almost trick myself into being okay, this is not going to be a song. Just be honest. And then I write and I'm like, oh, that could actually be a really cool song. So it's I don't know. Sometimes whatever I write is pure trash and it's just for me. But sometimes, yes, it does turn into a song.
Let's also talk about another big part of your job, which is social media. And I feel like for me, this is a topic that I know we're all constantly talking about because so many positives, so many negatives. I'm curious, what does your relationship with social media look like right now?
I've been a little sparse on social media just because I've been working on my album. I'm such a fully present person. And so social media is sometimes tough for me because it just doesn't feel very real. And I'm just I don't even know what to put on here because I just feel like it's not reality. So I think I'm starting to become more open on social media just because I just think it's all hilarious how we try to make ourselves look a certain way when we're totally not. And all the filters and stuff, I'm man, it's going to be so interesting seeing, how we view ourselves moving forward, because I feel like everyone puts so much value on how you look on social media, and I'm just like, it's really not that big of a deal. We're all just trying to figure this out. So social media is fun when it comes to like seeing what people are doing and what they're up to, and even like trends of like learning how to do things. Like so many life hacks. I'm like, oh, this is fun. I will say that I definitely don't take it very seriously, because some people are like obsessed with it, and I'm like, I don't ever want to be that way.
I feel like it's interesting too, because with TikTok now on the scene, like a lot of artists like are sharing their music in that way. Has that put any pressure on you to change your strategy of like, you know, releasing new music or interacting with your fans in a good or negative way?
Honestly, I think it's great that artists are posting songs on TikTok, because I feel like, you know, I was always curious what my favorite artists were working on and all that stuff. So I think that's great. I love knowing that if I feel like it, I can post a song on there. And I think that's awesome. Have I done it yet? No, but
but nice to know it's there.
Yeah, exactly. It's one of those things where it's like, I think it's a to each their own type of thing. And like, sure, a lot of artists are like, TikTok is bad. And I'm like, who cares?
And speaking of connecting outside of social media, like when you cultivate like your close friends, like how do you cultivate and maintain meaningful relationships in your life, especially being an artist?
I keep my inner circle pretty small, to be honest. Like I am super like energetic and social when I'm on the road, and I love meeting my fans and all that. But when it comes to like just me on a daily basis, I'm actually pretty introverted. You know, I have a large family, and all my siblings and I are really close in age.
Wait, I remember this actually. I remember you telling me about this.
Yes. They're like my OG besties, you know. I'm like, okay, you guys have literally seen me doing the weirdest things ever. So if you're still talking to me, then that's a great sign. So I talk to my family a lot, and then I have had friends in Nashville who have kind of come up with me as far as like back when nobody knew who I was or listened to my music. Like I keep those people around because I know that they know who I am deep down and weren't friends with me just to be a part of the hype train, because there was zero hype when I started. Like negative hype for sure.
But the hype train's coming through. I love it.
Yeah, exactly. Now I'm like, okay, well, I guess hop on board, but I don't know. I just never take myself that seriously.
What about when it comes to like love and dating and romance? Is that something that's like on your radar right now?
Dating to me has always been weird, because like I'm not like a dating app person. I'm so awkward. Like I tried doing a dating app one time and it just went so poorly because I'm bad at small talk. So dating is tough for sure, because, you know, I put so much into my art, and I know so many artists who like know how to just like shut it off and be like, yep, and I'm gonna go hang out with my family now. Like I'm still learning like what that looks like for me, because I am so all or nothing. It's hard to maintain a relationship when you're working on music all the time. I obviously have to be in order to write songs. So I date to stay inspired.
That's a good way to put it. And, you know, with putting so much of like your energy always into your songwriting, like how do you balance that? Does it ever get overwhelming for you? Like, do you ever have to take a step back from it?
For sure. Yes. I think sometimes I can get like too obsessed with the songs that I write, and I think everything is good in moderation, and there are seasons where it is good to be hyper focused on something. But if I start getting to a point where I'm like that all the time, then I know I'm sort of in like my danger zone of like, okay, go do something else for a second, because you're obsessing over this a little too much. I kind of have learned the older I've gotten, like when I start getting to that point, and I just pivot.
What do you do for fun? Like if you're not writing music, what do you do?
What do I do for fun? I really love activity. I'm getting into yoga because I'm not very flexible, and it's very painful actually. Whoever says that yoga is
terrible at yoga.
Yeah, I'm like, I don't know what kind of yoga you're doing, but whenever I do yoga, it's not restorative. I'm just in pain the whole time. But yeah, I'm a huge activity person. Like I love exercise. My dad was in sports when I was growing up, so I feel like I'm just used to, like, that's my go-to of like, oh, it's nice outside. Let's go run or walk or rollerblade. I don't care. It's like, I just need my body.
Honestly, a good hot girl walk. That's what we call it. We just we walk around the block, we feel hot, and we come back.
Yes, exactly. Like, very underrated walking. It's delightful.
So true. Now, Ingrid, what part of your life looks most differently today than it did a year ago?
Not much has changed for me, other than just the amount of experiences that I'm getting to have, like being on the road with Dan and Shay. And, that was kind of my first tour, and I'm going on the road with Keith, and that'll be another experience. And so to me, it's more of almost making up for lost time, because I brilliantly put out my first album at the beginning of the pandemic and didn't really get to do many things. So now I feel like I'm actually able to go out and perform and see people. And so that's been definitely a new thing for me, because for a second there I was like, do I even have any fans? Because I'm stuck in my house and I don't know if anyone's listening to my music. So it's been a really interesting shift to and now you get to see people.
When you got the call that you're going to be on Keith's tour, what did your family say?
My mother was especially excited because she a couple years ago, right when I put out More Hearts Than Mine, I was brand new, nobody knew me. I was doing a show and Keith was performing as well, and my parents were there, and my mother I lost track of her for 2 seconds, and I look over and she's giving Keith a hug right before he goes on stage, and I'm like, Mom! I'm like, you can't do that.
Did Keith know that was your mom?
No, she was just honestly, she just seemed like a random lady who just wandered up and was just anyway, she really thinks he's a really nice person. So she was very pumped, and I was mortified when this happened, but he was really good.
Gonna get another Keith hug round 2 on this next leg.
Hopefully more prepared and expected, not right before the man goes on stage.
Oh, that's so cute. That's something my mom would do too. I love it. And now, Ingrid, for other young women songwriters in Nashville, what advice would you give them, if they're just starting out their careers?
Everyone's journey is so different. And I feel like if I were to go back and do all this again, I probably wouldn't compare myself so much to what everybody else was doing, because I think that's what took me a minute to realize I was an artist, is because I was always comparing what I was writing to everybody else, and it just wasn't fitting. And I was just like, oh, well, I must not be an artist because nobody's writing songs the way that I write them. I would just advise you to find your thing and really lean into it. Don't be scared if you're trying something different that nobody else is doing, because it's probably really freaking awesome. And just because nobody else isn't doing it doesn't mean it's not good. And
you're working on your next album. What can you tell us about it?
It is sick. This album is so dope. I'm very pumped. Definitely trying out some new things, just because that's what I always do. I love pushing the boundaries. There will be love songs on this, which is wild.
Oh.
Yeah. So not all sad girl bops, but there will still obviously be.
Okay, yeah, we still need the sad girl, of course.
Oh, yeah, no. Some of these are so sad. I'm like, oh my gosh.
Bring us down, then pull us back up. Yeah, we're on a journey.
I was going to say, I pull it back up at certain points, so it's not all sad.
And then do we have a timeline for that yet, or still TBD?
It's soon. There's so many other things that I need to finish for it, to where I'm like, I don't know when it's coming out, but it's very, very close.
Ingrid, thank you so much again for being here and participating in Leading Ladies. We're so excited for all that's to come, truly.
Yes, same. I mean, who knows what could happen.
Thanks so much for watching our Leading Ladies episode with Ingrid Andress. Make sure you stream all of her music on iHeartCountry, and we'll see you next time.